Matthew's Guide to Creating an Illustration, Take 1, Edit Scene 1. Cut. Find a random object and take a photo of it. If you have a nice classic looking bicycle, that always works, just because for some reason it's got to be part of every second illustration you see. Ah, that works. Now search for some character or person or actor or famous somebody who has absolutely nothing to do with that object. Find a nice image of the guy. It also helps to turn the size onto large. Now you open Photoshop. Okay, the next actions I've sped up 5 times that I want to bore you. So very simple. I'll speak really fast. You dump your 2 images in there, and now the key with this whole exercise is just to play around. It's fun. I mean, if you're doing this and you're struggling and you're just going, oh my goodness, I'm gonna make a mess up. Oh my goodness, it's gonna look awful if I don't get everything perfect. 2 things are gonna happen. For one thing, you're not gonna create very much work. And another thing, this is something that's kind of strange. Okay, here I'm just cutting out the bicycle with my lasso tool. But one thing with this is I'm not cutting it out very accurately. I'm cutting it out just kind of slapdash. I'm not even going to care about making inside the wheels look perfect. And I'm just going to, make it look cool. And I'm just going to incorporate that into my illustration. And you'll see how it's just going to work just perfectly. I don't even know exactly how or why at this point. I just know this is what I'm going to do. But you'll see how it pans out. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying. You don't want to go for making something that looks amazingly polished or amazingly perfect right away. You just want to play around. The more you can play around and the more interesting elements you can just sort of have fun with, the more work you're going to get done, the more you're going to like what you're doing, and the more sort of happy accidents and experiments you're going to find occur. So, because here you see I'm just thinking, okay, I want to somehow combine this bicycle with Darth Vader because it just seems so ridiculously have nothing to do with each other. Here I'm just adding a hair. So all I'm doing is I'm just, see, I have this weird subconscious need to add hair to everything, but it is quite a fun random thing to add hair to things. And I'm just giving a bit of weird detail. Now I figure, it'd be kind of funny if Darth Vader has this strange eye. Like one of these very primitively drawn kind of, eye. And then I figure, okay, let's make it a little more interesting. Just, the touching, the soulful eye of Darth Vader. And whatever, I'm really messing around now, just giving him a moustache, whatever. Guess more hair, maybe it's this thing of me not really having any hair. I just think I need to draw hair and everything. I don't know. Anyway, it's just an easy way to spice up the photograph, just giving it a lot of lines. It's the main thing I'm doing. I'm just playing with the bicycle. Where should the bicycle go? What am I going to do with it? I don't really know what I'm doing at this stage. I just think, okay, let's somehow put the bicycle in there. Then I think I got this idea of, hey, it'd be kind of cool if the bicycle is riding off the edge of Darth Vader's nose. Well, it's hardly Darth Vader anymore. He's something else already. So now I'm just wondering about the composition because I didn't want to make the bicycle coming out of his head anymore. So I'm just playing around a bit. And now there's a very cool, easy, simple tool you can do called Content Aware Fill or Content Aware Crop. So all I did there is I selected the background and expanded the selection a little bit, and then I did content aware fill, and it just took whatever background I had and it just made that background. Photoshop does all the work for you, super easy. If you're not sure, you just Google how to use content aware fill in Photoshop, but it's super easy. Now you see I'm going, okay, cool. Now this bicycle needs to have a rider. So here's where you see this. I've used a lot of photographs and I've just thrown a bit of line work in there, and you can create incredibly interesting effects with just a bit of line on existing photographs, and just sort of, it's almost a collage that you've created and changed into something more, you know. So obviously this is 5 times the speed of my drawing, so I don't draw this fast, don't worry. Okay, so this is a little, almost like a little cartoon postman type figure. And like I said, you don't have to worry too much about getting the bicycle perfect. We're going to clean that up later. You know, almost makes it more interesting if things aren't perfect. If things are cut out a bit strangely, and you know what it's all about. It's just kind of happens. Kind of face there. I'm just giving you a little bit of details. You can see something sort of starting to take shape. See, now I get it around, you know, okay, we did color in his bicycle, we did cut out the bicycle wheels properly, whatever, we just integrated the background. Cool, looks kind of interesting. Don't really know how or why, what's happening, but you gotta admit it kind of works. And now, I mean, I almost call it kind of finished. It's kind of fun already. I just figure, why don't I just draw some birds? I don't know, it's just one really fun aspect of illustration is to contrast two things that are really completely different and give them a new twist. I mean, if you think about it, we've all seen everything everywhere already, in a way. You know, it's imagery all over the place. I mean, the fact that Darth Vader is known to practically everybody is because we see so many images, everybody knows him. But, and everybody's seen a bicycle. But I mean, how many times have people seen a little cartoon character riding a bicycle over a hill created out of Darth Vader's mustached, bearded, hairy head? I don't know if you can Google an image and find that anywhere. I challenge you to do that. Anyway, so now I just decided, let's just, you know, I could almost be finished already. It actually looks quite cool as it is. But I'm just playing around a little bit more. I'm just sort of seeing where I can go with it. I could have actually left it completely done at that point. I quite like it already, but it's sometimes it's hard to know when to stop. I actually quite like that already. Could have just left it just like that. But anyway, so now I'm sort of, what I want to do is I want to try and integrate the two images more. So I mean, this postman guy riding, and this, it's almost like this. You want to play the two images against each other. There's this little very cartoony illustration, and then there's this sort of very photographic, well, the element of the photographic Darth Vader mask, but then he's got some weird stuff going on with him. So you just want to, you know, keep it interesting. You've got quite an interesting composition there. One very simple tip in your illustration is use diagonal lines. Don't use straight up and verticals too much unless you want to create a very calm image. Because what happens when you use diagonal lines is you create motion. If you look at things in motion, there's lots of, well, not necessarily, but diagonals give you this feeling of motion because it's unstable. It's sort of like lean to the left, lean to the right. It makes you want to move off to the side. You know, I just sort of fuzzed out the Darth Vader a little bit, and then I erased the fuzz, erased the fade again, just to sort of bring certain elements a bit out. It's looking pretty interesting already, actually. Now I had this idea of like, well, you know, why don't we just throw in some fun typography, some fun text. And I thought, let's give it a really kind of hip font. So I went through quite a few fonts here. Don't know why I decided on Spirit Biker. I just thought maybe it's Lord Vader's spirit. What I kind of made a story up myself, which was quite a fun thing to do. Is, you know, what if Lord Vader, all he really wanted to do was, you know, take off his whole outfit and just go on a really leisurely ride on a bicycle wearing a cap. Nobody would recognize him, and you know, that would be his thing. So it was like Lord Vader's spirit journey on a bicycle, which is the kind of fun you can have when you put these two completely random elements next to each other. Then I thought, well, now I'm really just messing around and having fun, which is kind of the whole point of this thing. I thought it should be fun to add some text in there. Let's just write random stream of consciousness nonsense. To be honest, I'm only really writing this stuff just to have a text, and the only reason I'm actually creating a text is just to create this little texture, just to see how, if you wanted to do some layout with your illustration, you could kind of incorporate it all together. So I've written this strange sort of story about how, you know, Lord Vader was cycling in his mind and blah blah blah, and eventually came back into his, you know, conquest of dominating the galaxy. It doesn't really matter about anything. You don't even have to write text. But I thought it would be quite a fun thing to do. Anyway, just write the text up, blah blah blah. A few different paragraphs, keeps it looking interesting. Now I'm just playing with how the text is going to sit on the page. First I had this idea of it kind of going over the Spirit Biker heading, and I didn't really like it originally. And then I thought, well, what about putting it over that part of the image? And just kind of seemed kind of cool. And I created a bit of a drop shadow, I think. I thought, hey, why don't I make it a bit more graphic with a few really strong diagonal lines? You know what I was talking about earlier? Just diagonals, just give it motion and energy. I mean, really, now looking at this thing, it almost does feel like I overdid it a little bit, but I mean, it's just the fun you can have. You can stop earlier, you can stop later, depends where you want to go with it. That's pretty much, and then I decided, you know, why don't we just funky up the writing a little bit and just add a bit of texture in the writing. Now one thing, that huge bold font, with I contrasted the huge bold font into the tiny main, you know, body text font. You want to make as many contrasts, noticeable contrasts. You don't want everything to seem the same. You want things to look different. And adding a bit of hair to the writing is always important. You must add hair to everything. Big tip. And that's it. I think that's pretty much it. Yep, that's it. That is how it goes. So to briefly summarize, let's say if you want to create an illustration that's just a load of fun. Let's say you got a brief and you know you had to, there were certain themes and things. Take two main objects. You can take more, but just start with two and then make sure they're contrasting. Make sure they don't really go together. And then you put them next to each other. Make sure they don't have equal importance or equal size, especially in your composition. And then play them off against each other in some weird and wonderful way. And obviously, you can use this in telling the story of whatever your illustration is supposed to say. Use diagonals. Use contrasts of elements. You know, don't make everything black. Don't make everything white. Don't make everything grey. Have some areas that are grey. Have some areas that are interesting. If you want to use photographs like I have here, it's a very easy way to quickly get textures and quickly get interesting things happening in your illustration, if that's the kind of thing you want to do. But then make them your own, make them interesting, make them have happy experiments, and don't erase, don't go backwards, just keep on going. Just keep on finding out where the thing's going to go in its next step, and you'll be amazed at how much work you can produce this way. So that is my main bit of advice. Just make more work. Don't worry about getting it perfect. By the time you've done your 10th illustration, that would have taken you just as long as one would have taken you, you will be doing much better work than if you just carried on working at that same one, because you've practiced 10 times instead of just practicing once very slowly.